Alex, did you wanna talk about what we were talking about earlier, or do you wanna hold off on it? 'Cause we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. I told you that if you wanted to, we could talk about it on stream, but we don't have to if you don't want to. All right, you wanna link me the article again so I can pull it up? So while I'm waiting for that article, for those in chat that don't know, there is I usually don't like I try to avoid digging into political stuff because it really it can easily drive me up a wall or down a rabbit hole. But this is something that I think needs to be talked about because this is serious. This is something that affects people's rights, and it's in Sweden. Is that correct, Alex? This is happening in Sweden? So let me bring this up. I have to shrink it down a little bit so it'll fit well on the screen. Bear with me 1 second. There we go, that'll look better. We make this visible. Got my phone right in the way of my OBS. See if this works. Yay. Da-da-da-da. Do this. Add in a second page. And da-da-da-da. Because for some reason, the first one doesn't want to show. Don't know why. Okay. So, let me move this over so it's not blocking anyone. Yeah, I already translated it. I translated as soon as I opened it. Okay, so hopefully this is not blocking chat, but what I'll do is I will put it there. Okay, so basically this is happening in Sweden right now. So the SD, this is a group called the Swedish Democrats. And from what Alex had told me, and Alex, if I'm wrong about any of this, please don't hesitate to correct me on this, because I only learned about this today, and you are obviously much more well informed about it than I am. So please do not hesitate to correct me if I'm getting something wrong about this. But one of the Swedish parties, the Sweden Democrats, is apparently very, I'm not going to say right-leaning because that's a disservice. As I was told, they are members of their party are Nazis, which hope to God this doesn't get me kicked on Twitch, but this is a fact. And apparently they are, it looks like according to this article, there is every autumn, there's a so-called open motion period in the Reichstag where members can submit proposals on everything between heaven and earth. So the most similar takeaway in that respect I can get is kind of like how this is a very distant lateral thing, is how, like in Britain, during their elections, literally anyone can go on the ballot, which is why there was a person that was on the ballot a few years ago called Lord Buckethead, who was dressed kind of like Darth Vader with a giant oblong bucket on his head. It seems like this is kind of similar, where I guess members of the government can throw literally the kitchen sink into a motion to see if anybody will vote on it. And one of these individuals wants to write into law a ban on gender-affirming hormone treatments and operations to treat gender dysphoria in patients under the age of 25. So, for those in chat that don't know what this might mean, for people within the transgender community, they often suffer from what is called gender dysphoria, meaning they do not feel that they are existing in the correct body. Their body and their brain are at odds with one another, with the brain saying that the body is not right. This is very frequently what transgender people go through from, it could be as early as early teens. And the way that these individuals get treatment is they see mental health professionals to determine if this is indeed gender dysphoria and if they are indeed transgender, or if there is something at play, if there's something else that could be causing this sort of as a quote-unquote side effect. It's basically just to, had a mental health professional who is certified in this kind of treatment talk to you and help you understand, is this really gender dysphoria? Are you really transgender? Or is there something else? If there's something else, that something else can be focused upon. So part of being treated for gender dysphoria and being transgender is hormone treatments. What people in the West would probably recognize as HRT, hormone replacement therapy. So the SD wants to ban gender-affirming hormone treatments for anyone that's under the age of 25. And they're calling for medicalized conversion attempts. Now, what is a medical conversion attempt? For any who are fortunate enough not to know what this is, typically speaking in the West, we see this in the super religious right. And what they will do is you'll see this being used against transgender individuals and individuals who are homosexual. And what it is the churches take these people to, they call it a camp. What they're doing is they're basically trying to force these individuals not to be who and what they are. They're trying to force them into this box that the church deems is appropriate, i.e., the traditional nuclear gender stereotypes of men being men and women being women. And it cannot be anything but men like women, women like men. Anything else is unacceptable. And some of these camps are, the news reports that have come out about them, horrific. They are absolute nightmare-inducing viewing, where there's been talk about drug use, not your recreational drugs, but it's like psychotropic drugs, shock therapy, some just truly horrific stuff, just to try and essentially brainwash these young people, because the majority of them are young people, into being what these individuals feel is the correct ring that they are supposed to be. And it is honestly frightening that this organization wants to bring in those kind of camps or that kind of facility to inflict upon these individuals. It's truly heartbreaking. And Alex, I feel pretty safe to say that I don't think that this is going to pass in Sweden. Like we're seeing in countries all over the world, more and more of these anti-gay, anti-trans groups, while they don't have any real power or authority, they do feel more free. Yeah, no, of course you don't like it. No one would like this. No sane person, regardless if they are straight, gay, trans, whatever, should like it. Because this is something that is truly horrible to inflict upon some. It really is. I have not heard about these kind of laws passing in the U.S. If there's one that you're familiar about, because I haven't heard too much about a law like this passing in the U.S. or the U.K. I know there have probably been attempts, but I haven't heard about anything passing. The only significant thing I heard passing in recent years was the repealing of Roe v. Wade. I hadn't heard anything about conversion treatment camps, or withholding treatment for individuals under a certain age in the UK and the US. I'll have to look into that, because I'm not sure if that is. I'll actually probably look into it in a second to see if I can find anything. But from what I don't think I'm not aware of a law against it right now. But again, I'm gonna look into that, because treatment for something like this is crucial, because you have so many individuals who, and actually I'm probably going to look for it while we're talking. So many individuals in the trans community are, you know, they uh, the people, and they have such a, I don't want to say this because I don't want to put thoughts in anyone's head. But the people in the trans community have a shockingly high self-deletion rate. And it's largely due to how they are perceived by the public, how people in positions of authority make known how they feel about them. And let's see. Third the timer. 34 anti-bill trans anti. Okay, that unfortunately, Alex, the 2024 bills comes up in error 404. Let's see. Yeah, unfortunately, the anti. Let's see. Let me try this one. See if this works. Okay, that one worked. Let's see. So this looks like okay. So there's quite a few because there are 35 of these. And I won't be able, I don't think I'll be able to go through all of them because there's 35 of them. And I don't know if I'll be able to go through all of them. But one thing to remember is we are talking about, as much as I hate to say it, we are talking about Republican states, and Republicans are at least in government, not as a private citizen, vehemently dislike anything beyond a man in the form of Adam and a woman in the form of Eve. That's, yeah. We are into an era where, unfortunately, things have become incredibly polarized, and it's terrible because we as a society have lost the ability to look at a middle ground. There is no, it's almost like there is no gray area anymore. It's either you're looking at things to the very far left of the equation or to the very far right of the equation. And there's really no middle ground anymore, which is really sad. Because with any argument about anything, there is a range, there is a scope that you can look into, that you can look at. It doesn't have to be something that is extremely left-leaning as the only answer, or extremely right-leaning is the only answer. There's a huge swath of middle ground that can be looked upon, and nobody looks at it because these days it's all about the extremes. And we see that in a lot of life. People go to extremes so often these days, which is really unfortunate. Because it's the middle ground where people from two opposing sides can meet, figure things out, and move forward. You stick to an extreme, you don't go anywhere. You're stuck at the starting line, and you're not going anywhere. And that won't bring about any kind of progress, which is unfortunate. Yeah, and Alex, the only thing, I did a quick search. In terms of the UK, the only thing I'm seeing is for UK is the Gender Recognition Act of, nope, sorry, that's 2004, not 2024. Never mind. Okay. So what I'm seeing is, I'll bring this up. This is something that I found here. And Alex, I don't know if this is what your friends talk about, but on March 31st, 2022, Downing Street briefing paper leaked to the news showed the government plan to drop proposed legislation banning conversion therapy following an announcement that ministers would explore non-legislative methods of handling the practice. Legislation would include a ban on conversion therapy for transgender people. Within hours, at least, senior government sources say that the legislation would be introduced in the Queen's speech in May, and that plans to drop the legislation have been shelved following backlash within the Conservative Party from media outlets. However, a change in the originally announced plans to ban conversion therapy, the legislation would not criminalize conversion therapy against transgender people. So, I believe, Alex, this is maybe what your friend was talking about, in that the UK did not introduce legislation to ban conversion therapy, which would make things all that more obviously difficult for someone, because they potentially could become a victim of conversion therapy. My guess is perhaps that's why maybe what they were referencing. I don't know. So, yeah. Unfortunately, things are very difficult for people that are within effectively the rainbow community. From a governmental perspective. But, as I said, unfortunately, we're the responses that we're seeing from certain individuals within this community, or within what people that consider themselves allies to the community, unfortunately are going to extremes as well, and are failing to make their point, because all people are seeing is the extremes. In my experience, people that are of any stripe under the rainbow, be they gay, transgender, non-binary, what have you, whatever that is. They are not looking for special treatment, like many, you know, news outlets or pundits or anything like that try to say. They're not looking for special treatment. These people are looking to simply just live normal, quiet lives. The vast majority of people, of individuals, are not activists. They are not the activists marching in the streets, shouting to the megaphones, putting Twitter or whatever news media on blast. They just want to live their lives quietly and peacefully and normally, which they should be able to. Absolutely, they should be able to. And unfortunately, these extremely loud voices are making it more difficult for them to do that because of the way they're going about doing it, by trying to shove ideology down people's throats, as opposed to saying, look, we just want people of our community to be treated normal. We don't want special treatment. We just want to be treated normal like everyone else. If someone is transgender, we want them to receive the same kind of medical and mental health care that someone who is bound transgender and is heterosexual. The same kind of care and treatment that they would receive. That's all that they're asking for. And so very few people are actually saying this. All you hear in the news is the screaming and the shouting. That's why you have the meme of the woman in the neon jacket falling down on her knees and just screaming up the sky. It's because those are the loudest voices. And the loudest voices are the ones in this day and age that are getting heard the most. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about this, is because my voice is not a loud voice, obviously. I'm an anime cat girl on Twitch. But I wanted to talk about it. I am not going to scream about it. I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to try and explain as best I can about it, so that there's no extremes in one way or another. There's just understanding. I'm just trying to give some understanding so that if it helps someone to change their mind and maybe think a little bit differently about the subject, great. In the end, you may hold firm to what you believe, and if you do, so be it. But at the same time, maybe you'll think a little bit differently, or maybe the way you treat someone else will be a bit differently. You can still hold on to your belief that you believe a man is born a man, it should be a man, and that a woman is born a woman, it should be a woman. But at the same time, you can hold on to that belief and still treat another individual who does not think the way you do with respect and dignity, and treat them like a human being. Because regardless of how you feel about their choice or non-choice, as the case may be, regardless of how you feel about them, they are still a human being. We are not talking about a different species. We're talking about a human being, and they should continue to be treated as a human being with dignity and respect. And hopefully, if someone watching my Twitch channel right now, or if someone watches this, if I decide to post this portion of the stream on YouTube, sees it, just understand that the majority of people that are in the community of LGBT, they are not these loud screaming voices you hear on regular media and social media. They are people that you may very well walk by on a daily basis and not even realize that they're part of this community. They could be the person that is, checking you in at the grocery store. They could be the mechanic working on your car. They could be the accountant that's helping you do your taxes. They could be literally anyone. There is no predetermined, you must be X, Y, and Z to be a part of this community. And at the same time, if you do discover this person is a part of that community, why should you treat them any different than they were being treated before? How has this changed who they are from who you know them, other than what their sexual preference is or what their sexual identity is? That's the only thing that has changed. It has not changed their personality. It has not changed who they are as a person. And in fact, them being able to be open and honest about it can only change that in a more positive way. So it can only serve to make them into a better person, because now they can be more comfortable. They can open up more, and they don't have to hide themselves from the world, which is why I can only see it as being a positive if someone is able to be open and free with themselves. So that is my hope for anybody out there watching, either on Twitch right now or maybe YouTube later. The only, this is, if I'm going to be giving a message, the message is, don't only listen to what you see on social media and regular media when it comes to these issues. Because these days, the media and social media will blast things so far out of proportion it will become completely unrecognizable. The vast majority of the people in these communities, they just want to live their lives. They just want to be normal people, just like the very ones that are screaming about them. Because, they just want to have a normal life. They don't want to be activists. They don't want to go on tangents. They don't want to have to continually lobby for anything. They just want to go on, have normal lives, and just live. And there's no reason why they can't. Because they're human beings, just like you are, just like I am. Because guess what? Behind the enemy cat girl, I'm a human being too. So that's my message for anybody watching. Please just let people live their lives. As long as they're not doing something to actively hurt someone, and by that I mean committing a crime to harm someone. If they're not hurting someone, just leave them the hell alone. Let them live their lives. If you don't agree with them and if you don't want to talk to them, you're not obligated to. You don't have to. No one's forcing you to. But don't go out of your way to try and make their lives miserable. Because that's all that proves is that you don't respect them as a human being. And all human beings deserve respect. Okay. So, I think I may have talked about that preached about that. I didn't mean to preach, but I see so much about that lately, and it just bothers me. I really hate the extremes that we see in the world today. That there's with everything. There's so much extremes in everything now that there's no room for middle ground. And I miss the days when we actually had a gray area, and it wasn't just one extreme